MRI Techs, and we are going live tonight. I am excited because we're talking about a topic that you guys really want to talk about. It's about money. The truth about MRI tech salaries is what we're going to talk about today. So, if you are in the radiology field, I invite you to please drop in the comments and let me know what you guys think. If you have any comments or questions, because we're talking about the truth about MRI tech salaries and pay. That is going to be really important because the pay kind of is all over the place. And this right here is going to help you guys get kind of a grip on what is going on with the pay. So let's get right into it. So let me get a couple of things here, make sure I got my chat up because I don't want to miss one thing. I'm going to be sharing uh, different slides just to kind of give you guys an idea that this information is coming from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, indeed. And it's going to kind of match up with also just my opinion of the experiences I've had. So, do MRI techs really make the money everyone thinks that they do? Let's uncover the truth about these salaries in radiology and MRI because they're kind of like the wild, wild west out here. If you've been looking into MRI, becoming an MRI technologist, or maybe you already are working in the field of radiology, specifically MRI, you might have heard some pretty inflated salary expectations. And today I'm here to give you the real numbers, and we're going to talk about what you can actually expect to make in the field if you're new. And if you've been in the field for a while, kind of see how you maybe want to be flexible and figure out how you can increase your salary, right? So I'm going to share everything from highs to lows, the surprises, and things that I've learned along the way. I'm Chandria. I've been an MRI technologist since 2006, I think it was, but I became a radiologic technologist in 2002 is when I graduated from Emory University School of Medicine, got my degree in medical sciences, a specialization in radiologic technology, and then I went directly into becoming a registered CT technologist. And then after that, went into MRI, got further training in in mammography, as well as clinical applications. I did that for a while. And also, I was an educator, MRI instructor for 7 years. So I've kind of got my hands in a few things and enjoying the profession of radiology. So let's talk about money because that is one of the things that I feel like is not talked about. Now, drop your comments in the chat, please, because I want to be able to give you guys all the information live as you are watching. So, welcome everyone who is in the chat. I'm going to try to talk and give comments back in. Hello. So, welcome. So, we're going to introduce the first part of our conversation. Again, we're talking about MRI pay and the truth about it because it's kind of like the wild, wild west with the pay out there. If you guys want to share your experiences, have you noticed that they're really high in your area? Don't give any specifics on your pay unless you're comfortable with that. I don't feel like you have to. Everyone's pay is their business, but maybe in your area, do you feel it's fair of what they're paying you and the technologists in your area for MRI? And I'll tell you my opinion in the South where I am compared to what I've made when I worked in the North or what I made when I worked in the West, because it is very different. So in this video, we're going to do a deep dive into the salaries of MRI technologists. And we're going to talk really broadly when it comes to radiology professionals, but specifically MRI. I'll go into factors that influence pay, clear up some common misconceptions that individuals may have when it comes to pay, and kind of answer why is the pay all over the place. So from starting salaries to top earners and everything in between, we're going to break down the truth about MRI tech pay. I'll give you, again, my honest review of what I think MRI techs are being paid in my particular area and across the US as well, and how those salaries really stack up in this career in what people are doing and the things we're asked to do. So I've got a comment from Raina that says MRI pay, is the MRI something to do with the heart? So we do MRIs of the heart. So I'll answer those questions. We're going to talk about pay today, but please, MRI technologists, we are magnetic resonance imaging technologists. You go to school to become a radiologic technologist first, or you can go to a 2-year program minimum and become an MRI technologist if you meet the qualifications of the actual school. And after that, what you do is take imaging of any part of the body. It doesn't mean just the heart, but it's any part of the body, actually. We can scan as small as the vessels within the body. We can scan the heart. We can scan the brain. So we do it to get more detail of a known issue. And so the doctors can then uh, help the patient and figure out what's going on. But usually that's what MRI is used for. So, what are some of the problems or challenges MRI technologists face when it comes to pay? Many people come into the field with huge expectations based on what they've seen online, like social media. You see all the posts that talk about oh, you make six figures coming right out of school. There's one that I did. I'm going to show you a video that I stitched from someone where the young lady said she made $900,000 and she was a radiology technologist. Now, I'm not saying she doesn't, because there are some factors that I don't think many people think about, which could increase her salary. And I'm going to get into those things in this video and some videos in the future about ways you can increase your salary. I have a video coming up that talks about ways that you can go beyond being a technologist to increase your salary that I don't think many technologists feel that they're qualified for or know that they're qualified to do that, and can do it. So also, based on what they see and hear online and hear from others, people could tell you anything. People can tell you, I make this amount of money, just like on a video. You don't know if it's true or not. And if you go in negotiating your pay based off of what people tell you they make, that's not it. So today I'm going to give you solid ways to use information when it comes to increasing your salary and to actually go in with credible information to know what you should be making and know how to negotiate. So, but after seeing what the industry really pays and understanding the factors that affect salaries, I had to adjust my expectations as well, because I am going to be honest. When I was in school learning MRI on the job, I learned on the job. When I was learning MRI on the job, you know what? I was like, I can't wait till I get out. I had some big ideas on how much I was going to make and what I was going to do with that money. I, for some reason, thought it was going to be this huge jump in pay from being a CT technologist for the years that I had been one. And I was like, I'm triple certified. Oh boy, it's going to just go from here. So that's what I'm saying. I'm talking from experience. So after seeing the industry, what it pays, how things have changed, how they haven't changed, and understanding factors that affect salaries, I had to adjust my own expectations. And today I'm going to share with you what I wish I knew and what I wish I knew sooner. So we have a great comment. It says, I live in the Eastern North Carolina. I'm still a student, but from what I see on Indeed and job postings for MRI in my area is $28 to $40, mostly in the low to mid 30 an hour in my area. So thank you so much. That is a really, really good comment, because that is in the more southern part of the United States. And that is about accurate. But you see what the big gap is there, $28 to $40. So most people are going to say, well, I want the $40. What do you have to do to get the $40? And is there anything you can do about getting more than 40? And LOL, I'm trying my best to be realistic about my future salary. Yeah, and I hope this video helps individuals to be realistic, because if you think about $28 an hour with a 2-year degree, honestly, people could say, I can't live off $28 an hour. But if you break $28 an hour down to, if you work 40 hours a week, number one, when was the last time before you went to school, look at how much money you made an hour? Was it $28 or more? If it was, you probably chose the wrong career, or you're choosing radiology for a different reason. Because if you left a higher paying job to come in to make lower money, the strategy maybe wasn't good. Or you had another strategy, I don't know. But if you were making less than $28, how much less were you making? And what did you have to do to make that money that you made before? Now, what do you have to do now that you increased your salary, probably doubled it or added several dollars to it? That's the realization that I would like people to understand, is where are you coming from that you're gauging how much you feel you should be making. And the realistic part is what we're going to talk about today. The basics of it. So we're going to start at the basics. The average starting salary for an MRI technologist ranges from about $50,000 to $60,000. And we're talking, southern part of the United States. Again, depending on where you're located, it starts there. Now, some people go off of Indeed. I'm going to tell you what I go off of. So I'm going to share my screen. and show you all what I personally would go off of if I were you. Indeed is great. I love it too. But this is actually what I would go off of if I were you when it comes to searching for actual statistics with your salary. So here we're going to share my screen, and I hope this is helpful for you all. So here we go. So according to the There we go. So according to the US Bureau of Labor and Statistics, we are looking at Radiologic and MRI Technologists, the Occupational Outlook Handbook. And this is showing us in 2023, what was the median pay? $36.55 an hour. That is not everywhere, but this is just giving what the data showed. And you want to break this down. So once you go to this website, you'll be able to go into your state, into probably your city, and be a little more specific, because I'm going to show you later how you can go from state to state to state, city to city, and actually look up that data. So this is just a summary. Usually 2023 started out at $76,000 with an associate's degree. It tells you how to become one, the on-the-job training. There is no on-the-job training to become a radiology technologist or MRI technologist. It is a degreed program. They expected to grow 6% faster than average, and employment change from 2023 to 2033 is 16,800 more technologists. So I'm going to scroll down, and we're going to look at the pay. The median annual wage for a magnetic resonance imaging technologist was $83,740 in May of 2023. The median annual for a radiologic technologist was $73,000. So the median, this is the median, not the starting. That is the average. Basically, the average is $83,000 in 2023. So has it gone up? Has it gone down? This is the data that they have. So we'll probably be getting more data in 2025. But I hope this part is really helpful, because you get to see, if you're just getting out of school, you probably won't fall into that median category. So what most hospitals have is MRI Tech 1, MRI Tech 2, MRI Tech 3, 4. They kind of go up in levels. Some hospitals will require you to test to see where you fall in those levels. And sometimes if you're just getting out of school, you're going to test, but you're not going to be able to score higher than an MRI Tech 1, because you don't have any experience working outside of school. So they're automatically going to categorize you as a 1. You're going to need time to be able to get to 2, 3, 4. But hopefully this is helpful. This is, to me, a more solid look at the actual pay. Now I'm going to click on the tab for pay. And notice it has a graph here, and it breaks down MRI technologists, and it breaks down the other ones. But basically, 83,740 is what it is. Now, it also goes into some more in-depth information when it comes to, kind of categorizes radiology technologists and MRI technologists together. So I don't think it's all that clear, but it does give you an idea of what the median is. And you have to realize, again, that if you're a new technologist out of school, you're not going to fall in that median. So kind of back it back a little bit and be realistic when you go on Indeed and see these salaries. Look through the description to see, are they hiring for MRI technologist that has this type of experience? So that's maybe why they're paying this. So when I interview and they see I don't have it, I may not get the job. And if I get it, they're going to try to back me down to the pay. So what you want to do, what I encourage you to do, and I'll talk about this later, is get the experience. So you can bump up that pay really quickly, but you're going to need to get that experience. So the median the median wage, which is half of the workers in occupation, earn more than that amount, and half earn less. So the lowest 10% earn $61,470,000. And the highest 10% MRI technologists earned the six figures, $112,420. So the median falls right there, right in the middle. So that it goes back to what I was saying, 61,000. Usually it's about 50 to 70 to start out as an MRI technologist, realistically, right? Realistically. So that's one thing I try to encourage people to do, is be realistic. Of course, the job markets like Indeed are going to really sell you on the high salaries because that gets people in. It's almost like clickbait on social media. They shock you with this title, and when you get in, it's nothing like that. So you got to kind of look at that as well. So I'm under the tab that says state. So we're going to look at the state, and I'm going to pull a couple of states up here. If you could see employment of magnetic resonance technologist of a May 2023, you have the dark green has the most. You see Georgia and Florida has a lot. Missouri, Illinois, Texas, huge state, it has a lot. All of these in here have a lot. North Carolina has a lot. I think someone in the comments is in North Carolina. North Carolina has a lot of technologists. It says the employment is about 1,020. Annual wage is about 79,000. Georgia annual wage is about 82,000, and they have 1,170 technologists. Florida is about 75,850 annual wage as of May of 2023, and they have 3,160 MRI technologists. That is a lot. And that is, I mean, look at the pay, but everybody wants to live in Florida. That's going to affect your pay as well. The states that you live in. If you're choosing to live in Hawaii, I mean, look at Alaska. Alaska has 70 MRI technologists, and look how much they get paid. They're hitting at six figures. Now, Alaska is not cheap to live in. I have friends that live out there. It's not cheap. You got to take into consideration, too, how much. And then it's cold. You have to be willing to live in certain environments to make that money. I'm going to talk about that later, too. California is 104K on average, but they have 3,320 MRI technologists. Now, I'm going to just go to Montana. There are 70 MRI technologists, probably not a whole lot of hospitals out there. And I'm going to talk about this later about rural facilities, but 80,000 is the pay average in Montana. Now, some of these lighter green ones, let's choose them. I'm going to go to North Dakota because I've got friends there. Let's go there. 50 technologists in North Dakota, and they are $76,710,000. So you can kind of see the pay, but look at West Virginia, smack dab in the middle of all of these. 77 in Ohio, Pennsylvania 83, West Virginia 75. They don't have a lot of technologists compared to everyone around them. So keep that in mind when I talk about some of the things, but West Virginia is smack dab in the middle. And yet their pay is like $10,000 off. 75 from Ohio, 77. That's not a lot. And Virginia, 87. 75. Pennsylvania, 83. So there's close to a $10,000 difference in pay. But when you go over to Delaware, 90,000. If my mouse can get over some of these little ones. New Jersey, let's see. New Jersey, 98,000. Massachusetts, it doesn't have an annual wage there. But Maine is 84,000. There are 210 technologists there. This gives you a good idea when I get on to the next topic about pay when it comes to populous places versus rural places. Let's see. Here we go. So annual mean wage of MRI technologists by state. Annual mean, here we go. The highest paid is the dark blue. The lowest paid is the really, really light blue. And you see Florida is really light blue, like 39,000. 10% people are making 39,000 a year as an MRI technologist down in Florida. Yeah. Puerto Rico, the 10% is 30,000. Louisiana, there's 10% making 47,000. Let's go to Georgia. The lowest pay is 59,000. So you see, when I said earlier, $70 to $50 to $70,000, I was not joking. That is that. So if you go to Alaska, the 10% percentile wages lowest is going to be 85,000. Those places that people really, but look at New York. New York is very populous, very expensive. The lowest is 70,000, but the highest is 124. So it's going to depend on exactly kind of where you're at. That's why I'm showing you it's kind of all over the place. But when you take into consideration the area that you're in, how many hospitals are there, the population, the economics of the area, and how many technologists are there, that is going to, and the weather. Everybody wants to live in Florida. I mean, look at Hawaii. Hawaii pays really well. The lowest is 96K, highest is 124, but it's really expensive to live in Hawaii, and everybody wants to live there. I bet if we see how many technologists are there, it's a lot. But I love this data because you can kind of be realistic with yourself versus what social media is with you, right? So I really hope this is helpful. I hope this is, showing you the data behind it. Raina says everyone's moving to my state. Oh, wow. Plus, you will have snowbird patients. Yeah, that's one thing about Florida. There's an MRI facility in South Florida on every corner. Like, I have never been to a place that has so many MRI facilities on each corner. Just like really shocks me. But I thought this is really helpful to give you the data that you need in order to be able to make an educated decision when it comes to what do I want to, what do I want to do? How do I want to price myself? You don't want to overprice yourself and you don't want to underprice yourself, right? I mean, I don't think you should, but you want to also be realistic and not so much just go on what Indeed is saying you should make. So I'm going to share my screen again and share with you what Indeed is saying you should possibly be paid. And look how different it is from the actual data. So here we go. So we're looking at Indeed here. Indeed has United States MRI Technologists, and this is per hour. I started at per hour, but notice the graph right here. It shows low, average, and high. So you're going to need to be realistic from the data I just showed you. Look at your state, and you're going to have to say, now, what is my state really paying? This is the United States, and on average, most technologists make $56.97 on average. What does that translate per year? Per year, on average, that's $132,839. Now, we saw the data from 2023, and there was an increase in salary for radiology technologists, MRI technologists, all medical imaging the last couple of years. So that data, we're just waiting for the 2024 data to come out to see how much of a raise some got. So this data, we know does not match the 2023 data, but could it be off by that much to where it's saying that in the United States, on the low end, MRI technologists are making $106,000. On average, they're making $132,000. So that's taking all of these states that we just saw, and we saw many of those states were in a $50,000 to $70,000 range a year. So how could this be on average, or even in a low percentile, six figures? I'm going to take one of those states that we talked about, North Carolina. North Carolina was one of those states, and I'm going to search it. So on a low end, it says North Carolina is 106, on average 124, which is 6% below average. And per hour, it's saying that's $53. Now, that was different from the 2023 data, starkly different. I'm going to also do Georgia. Let's see what it says for Georgia per hour, $52.72. So North Carolina and Georgia were pretty close even on the data, but it's saying that on average, technologists in MRI in Georgia make $122K a year. On low, again, still six figures. That was different from the data, but I'm wondering, could it have changed that much? Now let's go to the beautiful sunshine state of Florida. Now we saw the data, and it's saying that on low, 84,836. So would that be the 10% really? How is Indeed doing this data? Now they do have jobs down here below that evidently are showing how much you get paid. But one of those things, I think, if you don't know from experience, is some of these facilities have a hard time keeping staff because of the patient census that you have to work with, the quality of imaging equipment and how much they work you. So what you got to do is say, well, if they're really paying me six figures straight out of school, how hard am I going to have to work for it? You're going to have to look at those things, because I'm not saying that the Indeed is wrong, but because there are salaries out there that are very high, and sign-on bonuses. Like, there are $20,000 sign-on bonuses out there, you guys. I mean, there are some huge sign-on bonuses out there. But some of those facilities I do know personally, and those sign-on bonuses are there for a reason. And if it's not saying sign-on bonuses are bad, because I would definitely take a sign-on bonus, but I would say be strategic about it and make sure that you know how to get your money when you do a sign-on bonus. So I'm going to pull up Alaska here. It says it's 15% above national average. Alaska was one of the higher paying states. It didn't have a lot of technologists. We understand the area, the weather. It is a very cold place and can be very dark for a long period of time. So it would be hard for everyone to be able to live there. And it is expensive to live in Alaska. So the low salary, according to Indeed, and they have jobs down here that they are marketing. One is a travel job. You have to also look at that. Indeed calculates in travel jobs, which of course, $3,000 or $4,000 a week is a travel job. That usually is not as actual salary of a staff job. So if you add that into their calculations, that's going to jump up these averages, of course, here for you. So I hope this gave you some kind of idea of what the pay is when you are trying to get into the profession and what you really need to look at. So of course it's going to depend on location. Your location is a huge role, plays a huge role. Big cities, especially on the coast, tend to make more because of the cost of living and demand. Smaller towns, they might pay a little lower, as we saw in West Virginia. And it had Ohio and all of those cities right around it, yet it paid lower. So you have to look at those things. South Dakota paid a little lower than North Dakota. Why is that? You have to figure out your area that you're in. So when it comes to experience and specialization, the more experience you gain, the higher your salary potential. Remember, I talked about starting when you come out of school, they're most likely going to start you as an MRI Tech 1. Once you get in that position, you want to start immediately getting your experience, which means getting experience in neuro studies, getting experience in pediatric imaging. That's going to bump up your pay, because it may not bump up your pay in that particular hospital. You may have to go to another hospital, but it's going to bump up your pay when you learn different type of imaging and have different skills. Say you didn't know how to do IVs. Now you know how to do IVs. You didn't know how to do perfusion studies. Now you know how to do perfusion studies. You've gotten extra training in cardiac MRI because you didn't know how to do that before, but now you are the go-to cardiac tech. And there are so many places that need cardiac MRI technologists. So it's more important. It's also important to consider the benefits, not just the money. The money is important. Don't get me wrong, but healthcare, what kind of healthcare are they? So if they pay you a lot of money, but the healthcare costs you a lot of money, are you really breaking even or making money, or coming out in a hole? Retirement plans. What does their retirement plan look like? Would you work at a place that offers you a pension, and after being vested for 5 or 10 years working there, a full-on pension that includes your insurance, you can retire early and you make less hourly? Or would you take the more hourly that has no pension, no good retirement? You got to look at those things and see which one is a good trade-off. Do I want all the money now, or do I want to negotiate other things? Those are ways to really increase your MRI salary. Also, your time off. How are you compensated for that? Like, what is the calculation of that? If you ask most technologists, how many hours do you have to work to get at least one day off, or how many weeks do you get off? A lot don't know. That's really important. That is really important. Overtime or bonuses. Many MRI technologists work overtime, or they're on call shifts. Some departments have to have an on-call person because they are not open 24/7. MRI is normally not open 24/7 in most places, so that's why people pull call. Some hospitals don't get called in at all for MRI, but some do. I was on call when I used to work at different facilities, and I rarely got called in, even at some of the busiest hospitals I worked at. But I got paid for being on call. Some people, I remember working at one place, the guy took everybody's call. He had a full-time job, and all he did was work on the weekends and take everybody during the week's call. Everybody gladly gave it to him because none of us wanted to kick off our slippers and get out of our sleeping clothes once we got home and got called in. So, those are some things that can actually add significantly to the amount of your paycheck. And he paid several bills with just being on call. He was like, this is like this much extra money. Like, being on call can be a whole nother salary, y'all. So negotiate those things as well and see how much call can you take, or do you have to take? Some employers also offer sign-on bonuses or performance incentives as well. And I talked about the sign-on bonuses earlier. if you look out there now, there are a lot of jobs out there that offer sign-on bonuses. 20K, 15K. Of course, they come with stipulations. So you got to be aware of those, because if you get the 20,000 and you say, "Oh my goodness, I am not happy here," and you go spend the 20,000, they want their money back. And legally, they have to get their money back. You have to pay them back. So I recommend, if you do take a sign-on bonus, don't spend it. Make sure you're paid it too. Make sure they pay you, and don't spend it until you complete the assignment or you decide to cancel and they prorate and you give that back. So you have to set up the sign-on bonus correctly too. So basically, here's where it gets interesting. While your starting pay for MRI techs may seem pretty good, the real money comes with time and experience. I hope that's what you got from this video. Look at the data. I'm talking about six figures, but it doesn't happen overnight. As you see in the data, there are many technologists that do make six figures, but it's not as social media is portraying, that right out of school you're going to make six figures. And really, what is six figures? I have a podcast that actually talks about really what is six figures, and do you really need six figures to live like what you think someone making six figures lives like? So check it out. I've also seen techs hit those high numbers after years of working in the field, especially if they move into management or take on additional roles. But remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And that's not the only way for you to make six figures or to get to the salary that you're happy with. To sum it all up, MRI technology salaries are solid. They are really good, but they demand a variety of factors to get there. If you're just starting, don't expect to make top dollar right away. But over time, your earning potential can grow substantially, and you are the one that makes that decision, how you want to grow your career and how you want to make that kind of money. What kind of money do you want to make? Don't let social media dictate to you that you have to make six figures, because money doesn't make you happy. It pays bills. And anybody can make a lot of money, but how you make it will determine how much you enjoy it. So if you're thinking about becoming an MRI technologist, know that it's a rewarding career, both financially and professionally. But like any job, it takes time, experience, and sometimes a bit of strategy to plan to reach those higher paying levels. So I encourage you all, I love to hear your thoughts. I appreciate those in the chat that have left a comment. If you're already an MRI technologist or considering a career, please definitely leave your thoughts below. Drop a comment. Let me know what you've heard about MRI salaries. If you feel like the pay is fair in your area. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content on all things radiology. And don't forget to turn on the ring the bell notifications to get notified when new videos drop. And follow me on Instagram for more behind the scenes of my career in radiology. And let's keep the conversation going. And let me know what else you guys would like for me to talk to you about when it comes to radiology technology. Toodles, thanks so much for everything. And wait, let me get to these comments. I was about to leave. Let me get to these comments before I go, because we're on live. You saw a job in Bethsaida and close to where you live. It pays like $48 to $60 an hour. That is amazing. So you see, there's still a big gap. Raina says she's taking notes for nuke med. Nuke med is an amazing profession. Cost of living in Miami is not cheap. So yeah, those are some really good comments in the chat. Thank you guys very much. And again, let me know what other comments you have. And next time I go live, be sure to turn on notifications to be in the conversation. Until next time, take care.